Sir, দেখা পাইছে?
Yes, it is visible. Now you may start. First press Control F5 or F5.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, Gopal, you can start.
Everyone. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself Gopal Kaur and my co-host are Didiman Hazarika and Shubham Dev.
You
Our
have
topic is
started.
about sentiment analysis.
Excuse me. Sorry to interrupt. You have started 2:52.
Yes,
You have time up to 3:02 only. So please
okay.
make note of that. Start.
Okay, sir. Our topic is about sentiment analysis on Twitter by using TextBlob for natural language processing under the guidance of Dr. Dibojyoti Bhatt sir and the supervision of Dr. Punendu Vikas Acharya sir. So now let's start the presentation. So moving on to the next slide, Didiman. This is the content slide. Our content is including like this. Now moving on to the next slide. So let's start with the introduction slide. Now, at first, one question comes to our mind is what is sentiment analysis? The answer is that sentiment analysis is an NLP tool for taking public mood about a specific product or services. It analyze huge data and construct system for gathering and analyze review for a certain product. Now, the research paper why we have the reason why we have chosen Twitter over other social media platform. So it is a microblogging system which is used to send and receive short posts. It is increasingly popular among academics, students, policymakers, politicians, and general public. It also allows easy promotions, reach large by tweets and retweets, and follow work of field expert and get new audience. Twitter is a convenient information sources from
sorry to interrupt.
events.
See, you don't need to read those points one by one. Within one or two statements, you just need to explain that why Twitter. Okay, you just need to go on give the answer within two statements, because this is the, you can say, the rehearsal for the main presentation. So if we go on reading the points, then that will not be considered. So why Twitter for the sentiment analysis? Because you can see that increasingly popular. Twitter is current days very, very popular. Either it is the case of academics or it is the case of policymakers, okay, or it is the case of, suppose, some celebrities. So everywhere, whenever there is a case of some important news, then Twitter arises. So it's very important to analyze or sentiment analysis of the sentiment in the Twitter. Okay. So you need to answer specifically within one or two statements. Now go to the next slide.
Now moving on to the next slide, which is objective. Twitter is a platform that most people use today. The tweets are biased based on individual opinion and impossible to go through all the tweets and make a solid decision based on them. In this research paper, we will filter the tweets.
This paper, how could you write this paper? This is the project presentation, okay? This is not the research paper presentation. So you are not, all of you, all the groups, kindly listen to whatever the suggestion I am now putting forward. Okay, so whatever the suggestion I am putting forward to a particular group should be noted by each group. So in this paper, you are not going to write like this. This is the final project presentation. I can understand that the paper is a part of your presentation, but while going for the project presentation, you will write in this project, our main motive is to, or our main objective is to filter to each comparative analysis, judgment of situation like that. Okay, you need to write like that. You just need to correct it. Now carry on.
Okay, sir. In this project, we will filter the tweets which will give a comparative analysis and be able to judge a situation more accurately. We have connected to a Twitter backend using Twitter developer account and have used the TextBlob for the analysis of tweets. After getting the polarities, we can analyze the public opinion based on a certain product or service. Our main objective is to predict and improve the sentiment analysis tool and improve the accuracy of the classification. We have Then use IMDb table classification, level classification dataset, and Kaggle, and use Spacey as a ML classification tool and improve the accuracy of classification. Now,
Okay.
moving
Now
on to the next slide,
wait.
which is
Wait. Okay.
yes, sir.
Case of objective. सबे खुनी गया था ये जो मैं बोलने वाला हूँ ये सारे ग्रुप के लिए है ठीक है ऑब्जेक्टिव में आप ये सब नहीं लिखोगे जो अभी इस वाले ग्रुप ने जो लिखा है you are not going to mention all these things why because objective means what was your plan what you are going to do okay what is the main objective वहां अगर आप लोग कि क्या क्या स्टेप फॉरवर्ड लिखने जा रहे हो कि क्या आप कर रहे हो ये लिखना नहीं है आपको okay like that this objective is clear main objective to predict and improve okay you need to write a statement that you are just going to analyze those tweets okay those individual opinions and from there try to analyze the emotion and to classify them with some specific classification tool here you can mention and dataset that you are using is IMDb level classification dataset that is from Kaggle ठीक है বুজি পাইছা সো কেনেকে তোমালোকে মেনশন এতিয়া যিখিনি লিখিছা হেখিনি অবজেক্টিভৰ আন্ডাৰ ইয়াৰ পৰা এটা দুটা পইণ্ট মাত্ৰ তোমালোকে অবজেক্টিভত 1 2 with numbers 1 2 3 you will write like that is it clear to all group
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
okay now you move to the next
Now moving on to the next slide, which is software requirement.
okay carry on
We use Anaconda Navigator. It is a GUI that launches application that easily manages Conda packages and environment.
okay
We use Jupyter Notebook.
everything you just tell that you are using Jupyter Notebook under Anaconda because Jupyter is already there and there you are using of course the programming language is Python and then what is the another software requirement is nothing but a Twitter developer account that's it okay
Yes, sir.
you just no need to illustrate that this thing is Anaconda is this Jupyter is this everybody is supposed to know these facts বুজি পাইছা so you need to minimize the time এনেকে টাইম খিনি কম কৰিব লাগিব টাইম को आपको कम करना है ऐसा चीज जो unnecessary explanation है उसको आप skip करोगे right so you will speak like that we are using Jupyter notebook under Anaconda and there we are using the Python of course Jupyter is for Python and then one Twitter developer account is needed as a software requirement then coming to the library requirement in case of Python so you are using TextBlob okay what is TextBlob and why you are using if they are asking then you are going to explain otherwise you will skip that portion okay like features tokenization noun phrase exception these things you may explain but this is TextBlob's explanation or Twitter developer account these things you don't need to explain now go to the next slide
Yes, sir.
one line is for each of them okay complete it within one line part of speech tagging মানে কি এটা লাইনত কোৱা এনেকে ডাইৰেক্ট কৈ যাও গুটেখিনি
Yes, sir. Now we need some libraries like TextBlob, TweetPay, and Spacey. Now that TextBlob has the following features like tokenization, noun space extraction, part of speech tagging, word inflection, limitation, and sentiment analysis. And TweetPay, sir, I would like to explain to you now.
previous slide le ha yat explain yat here you need to explain like suppose I ask you what is word inflection okay within one line how you define that what you are doing there
Word formation is a process of
what inflection inflection of kotha hodi
inflection means, sir.
kindly note that down
Character.
পাছত কবা এটো মানে ইমান মই এই কই ন মই পইণ্ট আউট কৰি গৈছো এখিনি তোমালোকে চাই
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
তেনেকে তোমাৰ নেক্সট পেজলৈ আহা
Now moving on to the next slide, which is hardware requirement. Now
Tweety and Spacey
we have
you have used Tweety for what eta line
sir we have TweetPay is an open source Python packages that gives a very convenient way to access the Twitter API with Python.
But stop. Next page.
And the species a new packages for industrial strength NLP in Python developed by Matt Hornivel
Okay, okay,
at
that's stop.
Explosion AI.
Come to the hardware.
Now moving on to the hardware requirement.
कम पाया था ना मैं क्या दिखाना चाह रहा हूँ आप सभी को समझ में आ रहा है कैसे बोलना
Yes, sir.
है कैसे आप लोगों को टाइम को मिनिमाइज करना है क्योंकि 10 मिनट का ही टाइम दिया जाएगा आप लोगों को तो अननेसेसरी चीज जैसे कि लाइब्रेरी फाइल जो है आपको बोल दिया गया सपोज आपने नामपी क्यों यूज किया पर विद इन वन सेंटेंस आप बोलोगे नामपी बट नामपी में ये है वो है ये सारे चीज बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है जहां आपको टेक्निकल टर्म दिखेगा बस वही टेक्निकल टर्म को आपको एक्सप्लेन करना है और बाकी सब स्किप करना है तो विद इन टाइम फ्रेम में आपको एक्सप्लेन करना है सारे चीज तो ये भी एक आर्ट है कैसे आप वो चीज कंप्लीट करोगे ठीक है जैसे हार्डवेयर रिक्वायरमेंट्स तो आप जल्दी जल्दी बोलोगे कि यहाँ पे हम जो यूज कर रहे हैं द मिनिमम हार्डवेयर रिक्वायरमेंट इज 64 बिट CPU where 2.8 gigahertz and that 8 GTS. Then RAM minimum is 4 GB required and maximum no limit. You can use anything. Okay. Then storage 300 GB is required. Processor what you have noted down Intel IT Core 4 or more. Okay. You need to make sort of this. Now next page.
Okay. Shubham. Shubham, can you
ये
explain?
part 2 बहुत important. This part is very important. आपको इस part में ज़्यादा focus करना है. Come on, start.
Thank you, Gopal Kaur. Now I will explain the workflow of the TextBlob. Here it begins with the objective of our project, that is to collect tweets and classify them. After that, we have to access the tweets by using PP for accessing the Twitter backend. After collecting those tweets, we have to the module which is going to be the tokenization, cleaning of data, removing the stop words, and the classification. The default algorithm of the TextBlob is the pattern analyzer. The algorithm which is responsible for the authorizing Twitter API client with the help of the keys, making the request to the Twitter API for fetching the tweets of a particular query, collecting the tweets, then classifying according to the polarity, that is the negative, positive, or neutral. After that, we use a testing statement and get the classification output. Moving on to the next part. Dithiman. Moving on to the next part, here at first we have to import some of the modules which is the TWP and the TextBlob. After importing these modules, we have to declare 4 keys, which is the consumer key, consumer secret, access token, and access token secret. After that, we have to use the function which is the TWP.oathhandler and pass the parameters which is our consumer keys.
Why you are
After
using this function?
So what?
Why you have used this function?
TWP.oathhandler.
Yes.
Sir, because we have
you have passed the parameter as consumer key and consumer secret, right? So
yes, sir.
What you are doing for this function? Kindly note that and try to discuss after this presentation. Carry on. Next.
Okay, after that, we have created an API as our variable and use the function TWP.API for the authentication. After that, we create a variable called public tweets in which we can search any random sentences like Man of Steel is a great movie and all. After that, we use the for loop and we print our sentence in the text format, and then we use the TextBlob for the analysis, and lastly we print the analysis value of our research. Moving on to the next slide. Here are some of the tweets which we have taken. Now now in the sentiment part we have two values. One is the polarity value and another one is the subjectivity value. Now polarity value ranges from -1 to +1, where -1 implies the minus sentiment and the +1 implies the positive sentiment. And the subjectivity ranges from 0 to 1, where 0 implies the factual information and the +1 implies the personal opinion. Thank you. The next part will be explained by Dhitimana.
Can I ask one question? So in this slide, actually,
Yes,
suppose I don't know anything about this. Okay. Suppose I have no idea about it. Suppose Manoj sir is asking this, that he has no idea that what you are doing, the technical part. So how will you explain that from here, actually, what you try to find out?
Sir, we have find out the two values, which is the polarity and subjectivity. Sir, means sir, the tweets which we have taken, it will maximum people tweets in the Twitter. So by that we will analyze the value which will be the plus which will be in the -1 to +1 or 0 to 1.
मतलब जो ये पोलैरिटी है ना, क्या यूज कर रहे हो आप?
Yes, sir.
पोलैरिटी एंड सब्जेक्टिविटी. तो ये
Sir,
पोलैरिटी का वैल्यू से क्या
yes, sir.
बताना चाहते हो? व्हाट एक्चुअली ट्राई टू मीन फॉर दिस पोलैरिटी वैल्यू एंड सब्जेक्टिविटी वैल्यू? इसमें आप बताओ थोड़ा सा.
Sir, in polarity, the minus value shows that that the negative sentiment means the the user
जैसे
has
आपने अभी
been
पैरामीटर पास
used
किया था मैन ऑफ
is
स्टील,
in
सपोज. हाँ, मैन ऑफ स्टील. ठीक है.
yes sir,
as far I know that is a movie actually. Man of Steel is a great movie. ये आपने,
yes sir.
ठीक है. तो अभी ये इसमें अगर पोलैरिटी वैल्यू, आप नेक्स्ट स्पेस में आइए. तो इसमें पोलैरिटी वैल्यू निगेटिव मिल गया आपको. आप बोल रहे हो कि निगेटिव वैल्यू भी मिल रहा है, राइट? जैसे कि -0.2625. तो इससे क्या समझूं मैं कि व्हाट एक्चुअली द नेगेटिव वैल्यू विथ रेस्पेक्ट टू दैट पर्टिकुलर मैन ऑफ स्टील इज अ ग्रेट मूवी इम्प्लाई.
So,
और क्या ये जो पोलैरिटी वैल्यू है इसके साथ सब्जेक्टिविटी वैल्यू जो है, इन दोनों को एक साथ कंसीडर करना पड़ेगा, तब जाके हम कुछ मींस कंक्लूजन तक आ सकते हैं कि ये ऐसा है, लाइक दैट. सो यू जस्ट एक्सप्लेन दिस अ लिटिल बिट.
so this sentiment will these two values will show the sentiment, overall sentiment part. Means that the user is in the is saying that in the good mood or in the bad mood or it's neutral, it will show.
तो नेगेटिव मतलब क्या समझा रहे हो आप? व्हाट डज इट मीन बाय
Means he is it is in the means he is sad or means like
जैसे आपने यहाँ पे लिखा, yes I can understand why some people are not fan of Sanders movie. I have always been a Sanders. तो ठीक है. अब जो अभी एक्सप्लेनेशन कर रहे हो, वी नीड सम स्पेसिफिक आंसर फॉर दैट. तो मैं अभी ज्यादा इसमें नहीं जाता हूँ. आफ्टर द प्रेजेंटेशन, ठीक है, आप इसके ऊपर डिस्कस करोगे. आ रहा है समझ में मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ? You are going to discuss
Yes, sir.
these things with your group members, and whenever you have found the answer, then you will let
Yes, sir.
me know by commenting in this recorded lecture. Okay? कमेंट करना कि
Yes, sir.
किस क्या 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 है. जो भी क्वेश्चन मैं पूछते जा रहा हूँ उन सब का जवाब सही है, राइट?
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Excuse me, sir.
हाँ, प्लीज.
Sir, মানে যোনজন পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ মেম্বাৰক সোধে তেওঁৱে অকল এনসাৰটো দিব লাগিব ন?
অবভিয়াছলি গোটেইকেইজনে ডিছকাছ কৰিব লাগিব, কাৰণ দিছ ইজ এ গ্ৰুপ, হোৱাট আই কেন চে গ্ৰুপ ৱৰ্ক. অ'কে, তো টিম ৱৰ্ক হৈ আছে যেতিয়া, টিম ৱৰ্কত গোটেইখিনি মেম্বাৰে তাত ইনভলভ হ'ব লাগিব.
Okay.
So now come to the next. Maybe this is the same question I may ask in your final presentation also. My
Yes,
motive is not just to check your PPT. My motive is to just to find out those questions where you are kind of need improvement or kind of need analysis of the answer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go to the next slide.
Okay, thank you, Subhamdev. So now I'll be explaining the SPACY implementation part. So we have collected level dataset with some features, and the dataset mainly contains text and text. Now we extract the features that are required for our classification purpose. And so we apply appropriate classification tools like SPACY and linear SPC, which are quite good. And after that SPACY does the necessary NLP tasks, and the linear SPC helps in categorizing the data. So after that, we use the text classification. We give some random sentences and it classifies the text. Now after that, so these are few of the programming we have used in our project. So first of all, we have already installed the specie. Now inside specie, we load the English language library, which is of medium size in specie. After that, we have imported the necessary modules which we are going to need in the project. So these are like pandas, numpy, sklearn feature extraction, under which we have imported count vectorizer, tf-idf vectorizer, and we have used the linear SVC for classification, and we are using pipeline, then transformer mixin class, and then train test split, and lastly we are the sklearn metrics for the accuracy and classification. So after that, we import the stopwords and list the stopwords. So here are the stopwords that we are going to remove. Now after that, so we use the, in the previous slide we have used the pandas for reading the CSV file, and here are a few of the our data set. So we have around, so we have two columns and it contains 50,000 level data with two columns. So here the sentiment, you can see the positive value is 25,000 and the negative value is also 25,000. There is no null point here. Now after that, we import the string function, and then inside the string we use the punctuation, list out the punctuation. After that, we can see this is our data. Now moving on to the next slide, we have now defined a function which will be used in the classification part. So we are defining a specie tokenizer and we are passing the sentences. Now we are using for loop, and in this for loop what we are doing is actually what we have just tokenized the word. So in those tokens we are like the personal pronoun personal, the proper noun are kept capitalized while others are like changed into lower cases, and after that the tokens are appended, and then we get the clean tokens, and in the clean tokens we remove the stop words and which are not in the punctuation. So like this is a common example, specie tokenizer after using this function like hi we are fired. So here after removing all the functions, then we get hi and fire. Now after that we import the sklearn svm, so linear SVC, and we use the TF-IDF and classifier. So and then we have X and Y. These are features.
So you are using
So in
linear
the X,
SVM, right?
yeah, yes sir, linear SVC.
Okay.
Okay. So here we have two columns, review and sentiment. Now we are now importing the trend test split. So we are dividing our data set in the ratio of 60 to 40. That means 30,000 data will be for training and 20,000 will be for testing. So random state is 5. That means shuffling the data. And we get the shape down here. So ultimately we are getting the shape here, 30,000, 20,000. Then we are creating a pipeline. So actually pipeline is for the automating the many processes into combine. Now after that, we are passing the parameters as TF, IDF and CLF. And then we are fitting the training models. Then after the pipeline creation step, which take a time, and then we predict the test data. And we here get the classification reports. So overall, we get the accuracy as 89%.
Precision, recall, okay, Apple score, support. So the technical meaning and explanation of each is known to you, na? Precision kihor karna ami use koru recall, why we use recall, why we use F1 score. So this thing you also know. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, carry on.
Yes, sir. Then we create a confusion matrix. So actually confusion matrix is for listing out the true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative. So here is the confusion matrix. So now we will be checking with our random sentences. Like here, I'm giving a sentence that I'm worse. So here the array is negative. Negative means it is pointing to the negative sentiment.
Okay.
So these are how it works. So we get around 89% accuracy. Now coming to the conclusion part. So actually sentiment analysis, or we can say opinion mining, have a wide area of real-time application and has many research limitation. And due to the fast internet growth, so there has been interesting research area in this natural language processing community. But the major limitation sentiment analysis faces are it is unable to detect spam and fake reviews detection, and there is the availability of opinion mining software is less, and it also fails in case of irony, humor, negations, and emotions. Now, and also it is for English language more means generally.
So you
And in the
concentrate on, come to the previous slide. Irony, humor, negation, and what
And
you have?
emoticon.
Emoticon.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Is there anything else out of this? Means apart from
Sir,
these four, we have
yes,
yes.
sir.
Continue.
Yes, sir. Sir, apart from this, in case of sir short texts and like some sir in contrasting text like bipolar sentences, it also fails.
Okay. English language limitation, other language. Okay. Next slide.
Yes, sir. So in the future work, there is a huge improvement in the pre-existing model, which can be made by including more semantic or like grammar based on the particular language, and which will give more accurate and efficient results. So the main areas for focus for future research work is mainly in the case of spam detection, sentiment analysis for short sentence and short text, and there is a improvement in the sentiment word identification, and also there is a development of automatic sentiment analyzing tool which can be used in many websites and social media platforms, and there need to be accurate analysis for some sensitive or policy related content, and there should be proper classification of bipolar or contrasting sentiment.
Bipolar sentiment. Can you cite an
Yes.
example for bipolar sentiment?
The bipolar sentiments means like someone is writing like contrasting sentence totally. I like this movie, but this movie in the same time is very worse. So same part of the sentence, but to opposite meaning.
Okay. Now come to the next slide, please. Research publication.
Okay. So here is our research paper publication.
No,
So
no.
we have
I want to tell all of you, please kindly listen. Okay. You are not going to show like this. You just click that paper, like this one,
okay, sir.
sentiment analysis on Twitter by using TextBlob for natural language. This is a DBLP publication. You don't need you are not going to show like this. You will show your
Okay, sir.
individual paper with abstract. यहाँ पे क्लिक करना, आपके सामने पूरा दिखाई देगा पेपर, और उस पेपर
Yes,
का टाइटल आप लोगों के नाम और एब्स्ट्रैक्ट सहित उसका स्क्रीनशॉट लेके यहाँ पे दोगे रिसर्च पेपर पब्लिकेशन.
yes, sir.
ठीक है?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
तो दैट्स इट.
Okay, sir.
इस
Yes,
ग्रुप
sir.
के लिए ये इतना काफी है, और सारे ग्रुप ये सारे चीजों को ये करना, नोट करना. ठीक है? और जो क्वेश्चंस मैंने
Okay, sir.
पूछा, मुझे 5 बजे
Yes,
तक आंसर मिल जाना चाहिए आपके मेंबर से. और अभी
Yes, sir.
सेम लिंक में यू आर गोइंग टू जॉइन विद द सेम लिंक after this.
Okay, sir.
Okay, because
Yes, sir.
this is going to be ended. So after this, the same link you will join, and the next will be from Ankit group. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, my host bonai diyo na, sir.
One idea.
Okay, sir.